there was some challenges last year. I think maybe there was more of a larger perception that there was big issues with recruiting. There were a lot of elements involved in that, obviously, that were not in control. But I'm assuming that you guys got together as a staff collectively and planned, your approach. What was the approach? Let's say starting February 1st, because that was an important day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at our last class, only signing 13, which is a smaller class, and we only had, I think, 9 seniors, so it was a smaller class. And if you look at this next class, we have 16 or 17 seniors, and possibly some guys leaving early to the draft. We're going to sign a full class in this next year. So starting February 1st, we're planning out our numbers. We're planning out what needs to change to make sure we sign the 25 best players, and how do we want to market to this class? Let's look at the 15 best players in LA and really focus on locking down LA, locking down California, as Dante said, taking back the West, and just having a really thorough, organized approach what we need to do. But a lot of the things you see on social media, those happen organically. We're in constant communication as a coaching staff and recruiting staff, and but a lot of that juice and fun and excitement, that's just our coaches being coaches and having fun, actively recruiting, and it's been an awesome deal. But I think even from February 1st, from our first staff meeting, I think there's just a sense of an attitude change, and there's just such a big difference between relying on the USC brand and using the USC brand to go recruit. Everyone in our staff room knows and feels so much pride to work at USC, and they're just using that in recruiting. It's an attitude change. It's a cultural change. This is where we are. This is what I'm doing, and I'm going to go get the best player in the country to help us win championships.
I loved hearing you say there was a cultural change. I've been a big proponent of the culture that's been surrounding the program over the last 5 to 10 years, for whatever reason. But moving forward, with recruiting, how hard was it in the past to get the recruits to contact you back when you would reach out, compared to now, where you're probably like, hey, hold on, I'll have to get back to you?
Yeah, it's definitely easier. And, recruiting is a relationship-based business. And, we have the coaches right now that have real relationships with these recruits. And, it's up to them to get them on the phone, and they're doing that at a really high level and really consistently. And then, the recruits see, other recruits that are really interested in USC. They feel that fire. They feel that excitement. They want to be a part of something bigger. They want to be a part of taking back the West. So, everything that we do has an effect on somebody else.
In past years, at least it almost seems to me like since 2017, when Hunter Echols kind of took it upon himself to kind of spearhead the recruiting effort on the recruit end, the USC really hasn't had kind of that point man or men to go out and try and rally guys, but you definitely have that now in a couple of guys. How important was that for you guys to establish that in this recruiting cycle?
No, it's definitely important, and that's part of our jobs in terms of the information collection and what we talk about in staff meetings is identifying those people that could help us build this class. It's football. It's all about the players, and they want to play with other high-level players. So we want to identify the guys that we think can be the front man for the class, and use them and build the class around, their friends and other guys that we feel can compete at this level.
I have one more question. I'll let you guys fire away again. But with last year and the small class and so on, you guys trying to get the excitement level going with with this particular class. Obviously, Mike Bond wants to have, the top-notch staff, and you got a whole bunch of new defensive coaches, but most of you guys stayed in place. So he obviously had a lot of confidence in y'all, but there maybe weren't enough people supporting y'all in the recruiting office. Just talk about why adding more people and where that will impact recruiting the most for you guys going forward.
Yeah. So, from day one of Mike Bone and Brandon Sosna being here, they've made it such a huge commitment to adding real resources to our football program and for me, most importantly, the recruiting office. And if you just look at, what other major programs have in their recruiting office, we just weren't where we needed to be. So they've, provided us the opportunity to continue adding to our recruiting office. And, the area that we tried to focus on is really the creative side and building out our marketing team with the football office. And it's still in process right now. Unfortunately, being in a hiring freeze, it's been a little bit tough. But when it's all said and done, our creative team within the football office will jump from 1 full-time to 5 full-time. I think you guys will really, really see that impact on social media, and I know that our recruits will. And then, we were able to hire a Drew Fox, who was a student and graduate assistant here, who's done a phenomenal job for us, and reward him. We were able to bring on Armand Hawkins to help Gavin out in the relationship side, reach out to our high school coaches, and everyone's got their role in the recruiting office. And this thing is just growing and growing and growing. And we felt like we needed to just add more pieces to the puzzle in order to compete at the highest level.
Spencer, you mentioned the hiring freeze. How has this COVID-19 situation changed your day-to-day job?
Yeah, it's changed a ton. From obviously working from home and just from a recruiting side, for me personally, it's been good because our coaches, all they have to worry about for the most part is the well-being of their current student athletes and recruiting. They're not worried about practice. They're not worried about game planning as much right now. They get to recruit all day long. So it's been a challenge for me to kind of facilitate that process and, talk recruiting all day long with our coaches, evaluating a bunch of younger prospects and, really focusing on recruiting for these 2 months. But it's definitely a challenge. We want to be in the office. We want to be around each other. We want to have, recruits on campus. We want to be, practicing and focusing on ball. But, I think, I was talking to an NFL scout the other day about, the challenges with, the virtual draft and, working from home in general. And, I just said, football people, we're an adapt or die type of human. And, we just overcome adversity. It doesn't matter what's going on. To be successful in this business, like, you just got to roll with the punches and make it work. You find a way to make it work. So, from a recruiting standpoint and from a football standpoint, COVID-19 is obviously, not an ideal situation for anybody, but, we've tried to make the most of it and have a really positive attitude about it and just roll.
You just mentioned a moment ago that you're kind of helping facilitate this whole process right now because, they have to kind of rely on you. So do you have any funny anecdotes you want to share where you've had to remind maybe a coach or two that, hey, you're not doing your job. I told you to follow up with this guy.
Yeah, luckily I
don't know names, but
with that a ton. We meet, pretty consistently twice a week on Zoom as a staff, and we're always talking about recruiting.
Right.
And the best thing about it is, because everyone is so involved in recruiting, the coaches are competitive. They don't want one person to outwork them. So it creates a fight amongst our staff where I don't really have to, I'm in constant communication with all 10 of our coaches weekly, sometimes daily. And there's really not a ton of, hey, you didn't do this or anything like that. We're all working together. We're all on the same page. Everyone is just working on recruiting for the most part.
The USC fans in general, whatever school it's for, they love to talk about Keaton Slovis. They love to talk about Dante. They love to talk about, whatever. But you guys in the recruiting office and the player personnel director, I mean, how many hours are you working a week? I think people need to know this, really. I mean,
Yeah.
How many hours a week are you working? And I have another question to follow that up with. How important is it to recruit mom?
Yeah. How many hours am I working now? It's I like to not count. Us in the recruiting staff, we just like to lay in the weeds. We put our heads in the sand and just work. And we do it because we love it. We don't need, anybody talking about us or anything like that. We just like to play our role in the process. And how many hours during the season, I'm not really sure. But we enjoy, every second of it. And to answer your second question, the moms are extremely important. Coach Helton has a saying, if mom's happy, everybody's happy. And we recruit the mom. We really try to uptick not only the mom, but the dad and, anyone that's a part of their recruiting process. We really try to focus on and not just recruit the player because there's so many people nowadays that could be involved in their recruitment, and we don't want to forget about anybody.
Do you feel like you guys are is there something that you guys are doing this year with your approach that's drastically different than it was last year?
I think it's just attitude. I think our coaches have an attitude of what this place should be and what it needs to be, and they're working their tails off in recruiting to bring this place to a championship level. And everyone is so aligned. And it's just a really, really positive culture. We're organized, we're efficient. We have a plan down of what we need to do and what our goals are. And everyone is just working together to achieve those. It's competitive, it's fun. And as far as a difference from last year, I think we just have really, really good people. And
is the support from the athletic department also a factor?
Absolutely. I mean, because they're not only just investment in the resources, but we know there's just a different feeling. We know that they care and they're all in with us. They're working doing everything they can to support us and support Coach Helton. And I'm on the phone with Brandon multiple times a week, talking about what we need to do and what's our next step and what's our game plan. And there's just different avenues that we felt their support, and we know that they're all in, so we're all in.
What's something that you've sort of discovered being in the recruiting business that you know now that you wish you could tell yourself when you were starting out?
Sorry, you kind of broke up there.
No problem. What's something that you know now about the recruiting business that you wish you knew when you started?
Good question.
That's a good question. Something that I wish I knew back then. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that one. I think, just being exposed, I was exposed to a lot when I was at Washington. I think, not when I was at Washington, like, you don't know what you're competing against. Like, you only know what your current program is doing. And you don't know what other programs are selling, how they operate. So, when we went up against USC in recruiting, we didn't really know what we were going up against. Now that I'm at USC, there's nothing like it. And it's a special place. And I know how much, there is to offer here. So I think it's just, the experience factor of being at multiple programs and everything that goes in it.
One of the things I always like to ask whoever comes on the show is, what are some of your outside interests, outside of football and recruiting? And then also, ultimately, what is your goal? Do you want to be a head coach, general manager? What do you want to take this position you're at?
Yeah. Outside interests, any and all sports, just a competitive guy. And, I love, hanging out with friends and family and going to the beach and being social. And, I don't do a ton outside of work because I do love football. But I love, eating, cooking, doing whatever, just having a good time. And then my end goal, I love, where I'm at. I try not to think like that. I try to just take things, kind of one job at a time, one step at a time, and do the best that I can. But ideally, and at the end of the day, I'd like to be an NFL general manager.
Very cool.
Have you had conversations with, not that he was a general manager, but have you talked to Brandon about that goal? And
yeah, we've talked a little bit about it, but not a ton.
all right.
He, has his prior experience in the NFL, but haven't dove into it a ton.
When the warden takes the locks off our jail cells, where's the first place you're going?
Good question. The office? We got to get back to work.
Spencer,
we spend enough time away from the office.
Spencer, what's your favorite part of campus?
The village, for sure. Love the village. Kava Grill.
Good stuff.
Okay,
You'll find me there often.
I have not been in there.
It's a must go.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to know what you get there then.
So it's like Chipotle, but for Mediterranean food. So you make your own like Mediterranean bowl, rice, lettuce, chicken, veggies, all sorts of hummus and tzatziki, and it's the move.
I'm in.
Nice.
Yeah.
I usually go to the Italian place next door, the fish place, but I have not been to the Cava yet. So that's my next stop.
Next time you're around.
Hey, you talked about wanting to get back into the office. So what means if you get back into the office, that means that students are on campus and you guys can have people visit campus again. Yeah. It's nearly impossible for a school to get kids from across the country to come in, without visiting. So what are you guys doing right now with those prospects to make them familiar with USC as much as you possibly can virtually?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough for sure. We're able to do, semi-virtual campus tours. We'll have different people get on the phone with them via Zoom, whether that's our academic staff, whether that's faculty, whether that's strength and conditioning, obviously our coaching staff, and really just try to get them around as many people as they normally would on an unofficial visit and making the most of the situation. The virtual tour is good. And, obviously it's being on campus at SC, which is such a cool spot, and being in LA and being able to see all that LA has to offer. So it's tough, but, we're trying to make the most of the situation. And then, as soon as we'll get back on campus and, possibly, have a July unofficial visit or official visit, we'll get back to work when we can.
Have you heard any news as far as how the student athletes, let's just say it, the football team, would be separated from possibly the general student population? You're talking about a July type of time frame here, where it's already been said that the second summer course is going to be online, and we know when that ends. So if you guys are being told that, hey, we're going to have some practices, how does that work? What's that about?
I have not heard anything concrete, and I just kind of wait for my superiors to give us information. I guess I'm probably just being hopeful that we can get back on at the end of July, but I really don't know, and we just kind of wait to get more information. But I'm just have some wishful thinking.
Is that part
So
of your
wait.
is that part of your daily conversations when you're talking to recruits? And
Absolutely. Because recruits are itching to get on campus too. And, we can talk about different options but we don't have anything concrete. So it's tough. It's tough.
Blake has no questions, but I do. Do you feel like, I mean, we've seen the results going on right now with USC recruiting, but when were you sensing that something was different with how stuff was resonating with the kids, especially in Southern California?
Yeah, I think for me personally, the second I met Coach Orlando and knew that he was so invested in recruiting and finding guys that fit his personnel and, getting on the phone and being super creative, I was like, oh, everyone better watch out. Matching him with Coach Harrell and Coach, Helton and the foundation that was already here. And then, the guys that he brought in behind him. Coach Nye has been awesome. We already talked about it, but, they've just brought in really good people. And when you have good people, special things happen. So I knew pretty quickly that things were going to be different. And recruits can feel their energy, just like you guys can on social media. And I know you guys talk to recruits, like it's just different. And it's just when you have that special combination, there really good things are going to happen.
Spencer, you talked about, and you've talked a lot about good people and mentioned Coach Nive and Coach Orlando. For USC fans that maybe aren't as familiar with those guys yet because they're still newer on the block, how would you describe them as people?
Yeah, energetic, nonstop, creative, ball coaches. And for me personally, I couldn't wait to see them on the football field. I've seen them in the office for 3 months, recruiting with our players, in our staff meetings, bringing new ideas. And, I just couldn't wait to get to see them coach because I know how special they are off the field. I can't wait to see them develop our players on the field. And that's, Dante and Vic as well. And it's just a really good defensive staff. They bring a culture, a mindset, and they've made a huge impact, with our players and in recruiting from the second they've been here. And it's wait till we get to see them on the field and really get them around our players on the grass and see those, those practices and see how our players develop and how our culture changes defensively.
have you, you talk about the energy, and I agree because I've seen it firsthand. And I ask this, have you seen Coach Orlando smile yet? I mean, he's a pretty.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good.
All you got to do is put on some Metallica and he'll pound the table, he'll smile, he'll dance. He loves to have some fun and joke around and get him down in the weight room. He is bouncing off the walls. He has a good time.
I could care less if the dude walked around with a scowl all day, because I agree with you. I think that's what was missing from the program. And it's not to throw the previous staff under the bus, but it's the attitude, it's the energy. They're younger. And when you're playing defense, you need guys who want to crack skulls, or as Coach Soto said, play violent.
No doubt.
And I just don't know if that message was being conveyed prior to the staff change. So just as long as that keeps coming out, I'm sold. And even the harshest critics, and they're out there, eventually they're going to have to cave in and say, let's give it a chance.
Yeah. And talk is great and all that. And
absolutely,
they're not going to be guys that just talk about it. They live it every single day. They are going to act and walk the talk. And you'll see that on the field and see it with our players and see the physicality. And, they're not just saying words to say words. They live it. They are it. And it's a no ego, humble and hungry attitude.
Recruiting Southern California is imperative. You talked about that. You talked about kind of the plan you guys have for that. But there, and a lot of times we hear feedback from USC fans and others. I need to lock down. What are you guys recruiting Texas or this and that? But, you know, there's a lot of talent in other states. Is there a formula for how you go about recruiting other states? And we want to bring in X amount of players from California or the West Coast. Is there anything like that going on at all?
No, absolutely not. There's never going to be we want X amount of players from California. We want to get the best football players that fit our program and fit USC and can help us win championships. Luckily, there's a lot of those players in Southern California, and we're going to recruit this area as much as possible. But we can't ignore the fact that we have so many connections in Texas. Dante worked at Oregon. He was a GA at Washington. He's got ties up in the Northwest. He's recruited nationally. Vic coming from the East Coast. He's got connections up there. So we're going to have a national brand, and we want to recruit nationally. But we'll take care of the West Coast and, our 7, main states on the West Coast, and particularly Southern California. But we'll take great players wherever they come from. And again, it all comes down to relationships.
And with Dante, we've all known Dante can recruit, and just kind of he's an LA guy, so we always kind of thought about him. It's just really having an impact on the West Coast guys. And I travel the country, and I go around and see a lot of the top players from around the country. And the feedback from these guys, whether they were defensive backs or linebackers or whatever it was, is like, why are you interested in USC? And who are you talking to from there? It was like Dante. Been talking to Dante for a year and a half.
Yeah.
That was not present at USC.
Yeah. There's some people that can just connect with recruits at a different level. And he just has that it factor. And he can relate to these players, and he's real. And you combine that with his work ethic and how much he invests in recruiting and cares about it and cares about this program, that's what you're going to get. And you combine that with a Kerry Colbert and a Gavin Morris, and you have a lot of talented people on our staff that can connect with recruits, and you're going to feel that across the country.
Kerry Colbert's one of those too.
100%. So now we have a Kerry on offense, a Dante on defense. Obviously, a Gavin who's, in with everybody, and a special character on his own. So we have some really good pieces working in our office.
Without naming names, because we know you can't, otherwise we'd have to eliminate this from the recording. But were there like some messages coming from kids, let's say February and March and maybe April, that or maybe across the country saying, hey, I'm really interested in USC? Maybe some guys that surprised you that their level of interest was maybe as high as it was?
Absolutely. I maintain our recruiting board, and I can't tell you how much it grew from December to February with national prospects.
Yeah.
It's just with the people, the relationships we have, and putting USC on the map. When you start to put this brand around the country, people recognize it, and they want to be here. They want to come out to LA. Our brand is really strong, in the Southeast and in the East Coast. You just have to go, mine for those recruits and build relationships with them, and we'll start landing some of those prospects.
How much of a role do you play, or is the staff factoring in with the possibility of this one-time free agency waiver wire that the college guys
Man.
Yeah.
How is this playing into your strategy?
Yeah, it's we're preparing for it, and we're doing everything on the front end to think and plan ahead and be organized with it. But it's really going to be we'll wait to see what happens. And I really think it's going to be like free agency, and it's going to be all over the place. And there's a lot I think the NCAA has to figure out an initial counter standpoint, like how to just manage the scholarship number, and all that. So there's a lot to it, and Yeah,
And there's certain rosters that can get decimated by this.
100%, 100%.
And there's certain schools that USC could take advantage of it too. So
I do think it's going to benefit us.
right.
I do too.
Yeah,
It's just how we play it.
Yeah, Spencer, to your point and to Mark's point, does SC's location in LA and proximity to all of the things that it is close to, Hollywood, the NBA, the NFL, baseball, are those all part of what will make that beneficial to you guys, or what will make that specifically beneficial to you?
Absolutely. I mean, everything that LA has to offer, being a professional city, obviously all the sports teams here and business opportunities and the weather and the geography. And, obviously we know that, there's been some recruits that have chosen to leave over the last few years. And, when this transfer portal, opens up, there's a greater chance that more kids will want to come back home. So I think LA is just a special place and USC is a special brand. So we are a more attractive spot than possibly some others. And then, we're going to put up some big time numbers this year offensively. Obviously, with Keaton and year 2 under Coach Harrell, it's going to be an attractive spot.
When a video of Pete Carroll came across Twitter last night after the Notre Dame victory in 2005, back in those days, there were a lot of those videos going out. And I'll be honest with you, if that doesn't fire you up, I'm not quite sure what can.
I missed it.
Okay. Well, my question was going to be, but when you watch stuff like that, just your imagination go, God, let's get back to this. But you have seen the videos of the Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
So you fully, you know where USC can get to.
Absolutely.
Is that, for me, that would be a very motivating factor.
Absolutely. I mean, even just every game, Willie McGinnis being there or Matt Leinart coming through the facility and, but yeah, seeing those videos and seeing where, USC was and what it should be, hell yeah, it's an inspiration to try to get back there. I grew up in California and was around when USC was, at their peak in the early 2000s. And, and you feel it every day from a Kerry Colbert, a Lenny Vandermeide, the guys that played here during that time and what their passion is or the pride that they take. You want to help build and play your role in bringing USC back to prominence.
Is there a player on the USC roster that maybe we're not talking about, maybe hardly at all, or maybe very little, that you were maybe looking forward to seeing in 2020? The guy for me was Liam Jimmons.
Yeah. It's a good question. I want to say Marquise Stepp.
Yeah.
Excited for a full year under Marquise and getting him back from injury. Right before he got hurt, he was doing some really special things. And, you just don't find that body type in the Pac-12 too much, and it's hard to tackle.
That's the first thing Mike Jinks said to us, I think his first meeting with us after a practice. He was like, man, nobody on this football team wants to tackle Marquise Stepp.
Yeah.
So, for obvious reasons. But you guys have, Blake, you got another question you can fire at Spencer?
Yeah, for sure. Spencer, where are we getting one of those polos, man? I've never seen that
Yeah,
before.
these are sweet. This was a special – I don't remember exactly which game it was, but they have these polos and a special sweatshirt. They're top-notch.
Yeah, you guys get some pretty cool perks, so
yeah,
can't complain.
All right, well, we won't keep you forever because I'm sure you have better things to do than to sit here and talk with us. But
I love talking recruiting, so I appreciate you guys.
Well, yeah, so do I. And this was kind of where I was going to go with this, is that you can sense that the excitement level as a staff for you guys from top to bottom is just extraordinarily high. And, for somebody like me that covers recruiting really, really closely, I was getting to the point to where I felt like I was as prepared to cover USC recruiting as anybody last year. And I just threw my hands up in the air. What was it? Was at times, what was the frustration level at, or can you even go there with getting frustrated?
Yeah, I'd rather not talk about last year. It just focus on what
But
we're
we'll leave that alone, and just it's now it's a 180 difference.
It is.
And it's just for me, it's so pleasant to go to work and to have. I mean, it's got to be the same for you guys.
No, it really is, and that's why that my answer to your question of where I want to go is we want to get back in the office. We want to get back on the football field because we felt like we were building something really special in those first few months, and we didn't get the opportunity to practice. And be around our players and build our culture and see what Coach Orlando can do, see what Coach Harrell can do in year 2 of the offense. See Keaton develop, after an unreal first year. So it's just an itch to get back on the football field, and get back in the office and be around these guys. I would agree that it's a 180, and we just feel really good about what we're doing, and even Coach Snyder, seeing what he does on special teams. And bringing him in from Kansas State, has been an awesome piece. And, it's just, we just have a really good feeling about what we're doing in our process. And we just can't wait to keep going on.
I was out of town, but Mark was on campus, and he was going to go to a basketball practice, and the conditioning workout was going on. I think the first day, Orlando was on campus. And Mark, what did you see from him that impressed you immediately?
How do I say this? I'm not the most politically correct person, so the dude just walks around like he's got so much testosterone in his backside. It's just the way he stomps and walks. He's got that.
Yeah.
And the way, like you said, it just resonates across the whole field. And I'm seeing the players are dragging these 50-pound chains. I'm like, whoa, where'd this come from? I was seeing things during air conditioning drills that I had never seen before. So it was just the new ideas that were being brought along. It was watching Coach Saota walking around with the sleeves cut off and going, is that a player or a coach?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the fans are missing. That's what I'm missing. That's what you're missing. That's what the team's missing. The sooner we can get that back going, and even Mike Bone, when we had him on the show, he wants the fans back out there watching practice like during the Pete Carroll days, because that type of energy and excitement, you can't bottle it up. It just keeps going.
Right.
And when USC is going, you can't stop that train. So that's what I saw.
Yeah, and I think what you saw was really real. And, from the first day that Coach Orlando was here, he was in our workouts. He was on the field. He was pacing back and forth, drill to drill. Like, he is in it. And I think, he didn't even know anybody. Right. And no other defensive coach was here. He was just by himself, immediately locked in, ready to go. And our players and staff could feel that impact immediately.
And I've noticed a change in certain players. I do a lot of observations. I'm not a stat guy. I really don't care about stuff. So I watch different things, and I've noticed the change from certain players now are becoming leaders. When I'm watching the guys running full 100-yard sprints, and I see Jay Tufele leading every single rep, that's pretty impressive. I mean,
no doubt.
To me, one of the coaches got in his ear and says, dude, you're the man here. Don't stop trailing. Be the leader.
Yeah.
So,
and that's part of our jobs and the coach's jobs is, and AA and the strength conditioning is instilling confidence in our players and building those leaders. Coach Heldon is pretty special at that, and his love and belief in all of our players is what builds leaders.
2 years ago, Horace McCoy came up to me after the Mater Dei spring game. He's like, Horace wanted his kid to stay home and go to USC, but Brew was going to choose wherever he wanted to go. But Horace came up and he's like, Scotty, man, I am worried about Texas. I mean, they are recruiting. It's perfect. How it's textbook. The recruiting is a staff. So when Orlando and Nyber and came in, I mean, it wasn't a surprise to me that there was some success immediately within the energy level was up. But can you just maybe give us what you've observed from them on what you saw immediately? Was it just the energy, or is there a strategy they brought with them as well?
I think they're both extremely smart and creative in recruiting. They just have ideas all the time and are just trying to find different ways to reach to kids, to reach to parents, and sell USC in a different light. They don't turn off. They're always thinking of new ways to attract these kids in recruiting. And I think it also goes back to the low ego. It doesn't matter that Coach Orlando is the defensive coordinator and Coach Knives is the safeties coach. They're recruiting receivers and running backs, and they're getting fired up when we get a running back commit, on social media, and it's just super natural. It's just no ego, just all into the team and our program and what we are trying to accomplish as a whole.
You know who I'm most impressed with on how they've upped their game on social media is Tim Drevno.
Hell yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. He, Drev is a quirky guy and, has been showing his personality more on Twitter and we embrace that obviously. And I think that goes back to, seeing, bringing in this new energy and seeing what they do. And
yeah.
Okay, well, why don't I do that too? And it's, bringing that competitiveness amongst our staff.
Yeah, there's something contagious going on. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
I know you can't mention any names, but do you foresee any announcements this week or next week?
I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll even edit that part out.
They're coming.
Yeah.
I feel good about what we're doing.
Again, we're approaching the 1 hour mark here, and I know you have other things to do, but my last question was going to be, and you may not want to, again, give away your tactics, but what are the most important bullet points for selling the University of Southern California to a kid?
Yeah, I would probably say the academic piece, number one. What you're going to leave here with the degree in hand and what that degree means. The opportunity to provide, for life after football is probably number one. And then number two is probably playing in the national spotlight. And that's what kids want. The kids that we're recruiting, they want to compete in the national spotlight. They want to be in the college football playoff. They want to be in the Rose Bowl. And that's what USC needs to offer. And that's what we need to get in order to land the elite recruits. And between those two things and, Coach Helton's development program and the Trojan Made program, and just the type of person that he is, and, the love and care that he's going to have for you and for our recruits and what we pitch to parents, he is their father figure and is going to take care of you. So it's really those three things, just what our program offers and it being different than every other school.
Mark has a follow-up.
You were talking about the presentations. Who that you for the recruits? Who puts those together? Are they individualized for each recruit, or is there a general PowerPoint production you guys do?
There's both. We have general presentations on Coach Helton's Trojan Made development program, and then we have specific recruit presentations. There's some different things we aren't able to do for compliance reasons, and some things that we are. So it just depends recruit to recruit.
Trojan Made. Let's give a shout out to, wasn't that Sam Curtis's?
That was Sam Curtis. Yeah.
We must give him a shout out because that was
absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. No, he did a great job last summer, and it was with some other people as well that had a role in it. Joseph Wood for sure. So bringing in some guest speakers and into our team building, and we plan to do that again. Possibly through Zoom over these next couple months.
We'd like to have Kelsey on as well, but just talk about what she adds to the recruiting efforts, because she has a very specific role that's extremely important.
Yeah, no doubt. So she organizes all of the ins and outs of a recruiting visit. So that's planning the whole itinerary, helping the recruit and their parents get to campus, trying to figure out what they want to see and need to see, planning appointments with academic professors, our position meetings, our academic advisors on campus, and then just executing the visit, which is a whole ordeal in itself, with time management and our coach's time and stuff like that. So it's definitely a major piece to the puzzle. She does a great job with, building relationships with the moms and the parents and the kids themselves, and making sure our students are in the right place and stuff like that.
2 minutes left, and how important is it to get as many kids signed by the December signing period as possible?
Yeah, I love the early signing period, and I'm praying that they keep it in place despite COVID-19. I would like to get everybody locked up in December and go from there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Me too, by the way.
No, it makes it so much easier, and hopefully we'll have our class built from by then and get them locked in, and then we use January to go recruit the next class.
All right, 1 minute left. How you guys can't really start initiating contact with 2022 kids until September 1st, but are you guys maybe have a little bit earlier start on the next year's class than you maybe have in the past?
Absolutely. For multiple reasons. Just using this time to evaluate their film and building our board, which we've done in years past, but now that's a huge part of our week is evaluating underclassmen because we have so much time.
Yeah.
And then B is just obviously our coaching staff, and building relationships with the high school coaches of those, top recruits that we've identified. And, we can, facilitate relationships through the high school coach with those recruits. And, we were able to get some on campus before it went dead for Corona. And, we feel like we're in a good spot for a lot of local talent and national talent as well.
All right. Hey, Spencer, again, thank you so much for coming to join us. This was great. I mean,
Absolutely.
literally, I could talk to you probably for an entire day.
Yeah, no, I could talk all day, so it's no sweat off my back.
We could probably put together a pretty impressive podcast if there weren't rules and regulations.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate piece.
I know. But this was awesome. Seriously. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Of
so
course.
much, Spencer.
All right. We hope to see you soon.
Yeah, you too. I enjoyed it. Thank you guys.
All right, guys.
All right. See ya.
Take care.
All right. Record off.